Namaste. Welcome to the beginning of another live Sangha. I'm grateful to be here. It is our second live stream since getting a new computer, which I'm still very blessed to have had the support garnered in order to get it. So, thank you all. Allow me to start with setting the intentions for this space as being a welcoming environment, open to everyone, regardless of background, identity, orientation, belief system, ethnicity, etc. May we come together as fellow students of life to uplift each other, relate in one another's experiences, and share positive sentiments. Our first guests are joining now, and I trust you are feeling as well as you can in this moment, despite whatever circumstances might be unveiling in your life at this time. If there are any difficulties, remember that this too shall pass, and you are always expressing something valid in your feelings as a reflection of what's happening inside and out. I hope to be your humble host, and if I'm not, you can hold me accountable to that. May you find peace and relaxation here. I'd love to begin also with an invocation of a shanti mantra from the Taittiriya and Katha Upanishad, which in the ancient language of Sanskrit sounds something like this. Aum Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karva Vahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvisha Vahai. Aum Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May the Divine protect us both together. May the Divine nourish us both together. May we work conjointly with great haste. May our studies be vigorous and effective, and may we not mutually dispute or hate any. Om. May there be peace in us. May there be peace in our environment, and may there be peace in the forces that act on us. Welcome everyone. If you wanted to share how you're feeling, please feel free to. Otherwise, keep your secrets. It does help to know what kind of space to hold for today. It is very early in the morning for you, dear Mariori, or very late, depending on if you're going to bed or waking up. Considering that you just shared that sleep seems to hate you, I suspect that it's the former. No, the latter. Hello, dear Jai. Good evening, dear Disneyland Paris. Hello, dear Taylor Ann. Feeling hopeful and hopeless, shares Taylor. Well, you know what? Sometimes we can have seemingly contradictory feelings, and that's absolutely allowed. Some people say that there are some kinds of hope that you should give up, the kinds that are negative attachments towards something that's holding you back, something that might never happen, and so you shouldn't plan your life around an uncertainty. And there are other kinds of hope which you should always give yourself to. The very same uncertainty by another name is possibility, and you can always open your heart to what's possible. Thank you, dear Giuliano, for the popular vote and heart me and a rose and an ice cream cone and a TikTok. Aum Gang Ganapataye Namah. And thank you, dear Seaflow, for the heart me you sent as well. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Good point to remember that no gift is ever expected or necessary. but is deeply appreciated. Dear Nescole, you've been watching my YouTube playlist of Hollywood to the Himalayas almost every night. Oh, I'm glad you've been liking that. I really enjoyed that book, and I still continue to occasionally watch videos from Sadhvi Saraswati, or I guess it's Sadhviji Bhagavati Saraswati. She's a lovely individual. Dear Kay, you ask, how long have I been growing my hair? Ever since I was born. Yeah, but my appearance shouldn't be the main focus of this live stream. Do you take care of your hair? I hope so. Let me tell you about the agenda for today's live stream, the real good stuff that we'll be getting into today. We shall continue reading from the Radiant Sutras. This is a modern translation and commentary of the ancient Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. We'll continue from the 43rd Yukti, one of the 112 gateways to the yoga of wonder and delight. This is a conversation between the divine masculine and the divine feminine, outlining everyday experiences that can be used as a meditation. Then we'll have some Q&A. There'll be a section dedicated to the question of the day, which will concern surprises. And then we'll end with a meditation mantra. A very famous mantra that I'm sure many of you already know, called the Samudra Vasane Mantra. It's dedicated to Mother Earth, and it's said to be a prayer chanted every morning, if you want to. Dedicated to celebrating the various aspects of Mother Earth and apologizing for covering her beauty with every step that we take. My mother has entered the room. Hello, Mom.
Hi. Sharing greens. And I made some bread.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. I'll be having some of that. My mother has baked some bread. And she has picked some fresh garden greens. I will very much be enjoying those soon. She's already out of the room, but I will certainly pass your hellos on to her, dear Mariham. And greetings, dear Adri. Yes, please get some sleep, dear Mairari. Sleep is always a priority. No matter how much you like these live streams, always favor sleep, please. Dear Woo Woo, you ask, what is the use of spirituality? What an interesting question to get our Sangha going today. How about this? Spirituality has no use in the same way that art has no use. But we don't do it for its practicality. We do it for its expression of the soul. And what might not seem that practical on the surface is actually the most practical way to live. Because how can you live without expressing yourself? To express oneself is truly to be alive. And to not express yourself is no different than being dead. Ah, isn't the smell of fresh baked bread lovely, dear Disneyland princess? Beautiful. Yes. That sounds like some words of wisdom, dear Bluesman. Shame is the fear of being seen. Thank you for sharing that. Welcome, dear Nick. You also love freshly baked homemade bread, dear Disneyland. I'm very happy to hear that. Always nice to make things yourself. Tastes better too. Mayuri, you had asked the question, how can we stop to feel blurry about a situation? How can we stop feeling uncertain about a situation? Let it be. Let it unfold naturally. You don't have to understand every single detail to make sense of the whole. And you certainly don't have to make sense of the whole before you go to sleep. Going to sleep is not something that happens after you make sense of everything. It's something you do to take a break from trying to make sense of everything, to recharge. You let it go, let your higher mind process as you fall into your subconscious. There's a computer analogy. In a computer, I don't know how many people will get this, but you have a CPU and you have a GPU. Your CPU can run very fast, but it can only run on one task at a time, depending on how many cores it has. Modern CPUs might have up to 4 cores. So too, scientists say that our conscious mind is like a CPU, a computer processing unit, computational processing unit. Maybe you could translate it as a consciousness processing unit. And it only has like 6 cores. Neurologists, psychologists say we can only really keep track of like 6 things at a time, consciously. But you also have a GPU, which comparatively speaking runs slower, but it runs many, many millions of processes simultaneously. And that's like your subconscious. When you go to sleep at night, you turn off the conscious mind and you awaken the subconscious mind. You shift from being operating in a CPU kind of style to a GPU kind of style, a graphics processing unit. And graphics have the symbolism of dreams in this case too. So don't feel like you have to make sense of the world consciously before you fall asleep. That's what dreams are for. To activate your GPU. Yeah. So give your conscious mind a break. Dear Witch Daddy, you need some peace. You feel unwell. Your body feels unwell, but you have a treasure trove of peace within that you need to give your body. Nobody is ever in need of peace. But the soul, which is the source of peace, is always in need of giving that to the body. Let your body be your vessel of peace. I'm glad you liked the audio, dear user 651. We do upload all of the live streams to my YouTube channel, in case you ever wanted to listen to them while I'm not live. There's hundreds of live streams posted there. Dear Curtis, you had asked, what can we do to make sure our subconscious mind doesn't make big things out of small things? That's its job. Yeah, no, you can't do anything about that. But what you can do is make sure that your conscious mind doesn't make big things out of small things. Your conscious mind's purpose is to make small things out of big things. In this sense. That is to say, when you wake up, understand that your dreams are just dreams. But while dreaming, dream big. While asleep, let your dreams be one that you can get lost in and explore. But when you wake up, don't mull over the details. Focus on a simple practice. Pour yourself a cup of tea. Go for a walk. All of life takes place just in this moment. That's all. Just this moment. The past is no longer. The future has yet to be. Just this moment. It's such a small thing. This moment. That means you get to decide what you want to do when you wake up. And it doesn't have to be very big. It can be as simple as pouring a cup of tea or going for a walk and just enjoying that moment. But when you're dreaming, you're free to make a whole universe out of the smallest detail. You feel that you're haunted in your dreams and you cannot let go of those dreams and you fear them. You gotta face them. Yeah. Your dreams are your subconscious alive. If you have haunted things in your dreams, you are haunted by your past, meaning you've experienced trauma. And that's okay, because who hasn't? Who hasn't experienced trauma? Every single person who has ever lived experienced trauma. We can compare, but it's of no purpose, because the most traumatic thing to me is going to feel like the most traumatic thing to me. And the most traumatic thing to you is going to feel like the most traumatic thing to you. Whatever that is, I don't know. Your dreams are a way of actually processing that. And that doesn't mean you have to escape them. It means you have to live them in your dreams until one day some aspect will change in the dream. In the dream, you will do something like make friends with whoever is chasing you. I don't know if it's a chasing dream, then you stop running, finally, and you turn around and you confront the thing that's chasing you. Literally, in your dream, you can do this. And if you can lucid dream, even better. Then you won't have to wait until your subconscious just does it. You can do it tonight, if you lucid dream tonight. You have the same dream every night, and you often think you are making a mistake in your dream. Thank you for sharing this, by the way. It's very vulnerable of you. You can make the same mistake a million times in your dreams, and that's okay. That's kind of the purpose of a dream, is that it's not as permanent as the waking world. It's like your creative mode. You're free to make mistakes. You can make the most terrible mistakes in a dream and not have that big of a consequence from them. But in the waking world, that's not as true. In the waking world, there are more long-lasting consequences for even small mistakes. But in your dreams, you are free to experiment and make a bunch of mistakes. So please forgive yourself for that. Hi, are you underwater? That's a funny question, world. I do have some nature sounds in the background. It does sound like we're under a waterfall or something. Mm-hmm. You're wondering what I'm listening to on my headphones, dear Nick. Same as you, just making sure the audio levels are always appropriate. Hello, dear Dean. Welcome, dear Crystal. Nick, you had asked, what if the nightmares feel more like visions? Well, you do have to remember that the highest truths are always not nightmares. Nightmares are only partial truths. Because peace is only found in understanding, which means that if you're not in understanding, if you're not in peace, then you're not in full understanding. So a nightmare can never be truly prophetic, because prophecy is always peaceful. If the prophecy is ever sounding fearful, then it's not true prophecy. And this is a very good thing. That's how you can tell what is the difference between highest truth and lower truth. It still can be true. There can be aspects that are true. But it's probably more symbolic if it's a nightmare. Our mind can make up 100 different things to be afraid of, and 99%, so 99 of those things never actually come to be, but maybe symbolically they do. So symbolically you may interpret your nightmares. You may take the nightmare of continuously falling off of a building and you feel like this is some premonition. You may never actually fall off a building, no matter how many times you have this dream. But it can symbolize that you're afraid of surrendering to something. You're afraid of letting yourself go and just dropping into an ocean of something uncertain. Or perhaps it can symbolize the idea that you've built for yourself an identity that you're afraid of collapsing, the world being swept from under your feet. You can interpret it in this way. Dearest Chloe, your dream is sometimes about being late for work. I think I think you're not alone in that. I think many of us have that dream. Yes. Your dreams can also be an expression of your principles, your values. You value showing up on time. Which is good. Mm-hmm. Hello, dear Adonis. Good evening. Hello, dear Renfox. Dear Dadman, you ask, what's my worldview, and do I base it off the harm principle? Am I about individualism overall? I don't have a worldview that can be written down. No set of tenets or creed or dogma that I ascribe to. But Ahimsa, meaning the principle of least harm, is definitely a principle that I try to invoke as long as I can remember it. It's the first principle of the first limb of yoga. In Ashtanga Yoga, the Eightfold System, the first is Yama Yoga, the union of restraints. And the very first restraint is Ahimsa, least harm. If we can vow to cause the least harm in whatever we do, that is something we can do to ensure that we are truly being a part in yoga, in union with the whole that we're a part of, because we are not individuals truly separate. We have individual bodies, we have individual minds, but they're interconnected. And that which interconnects is called the soul, or spirit, or consciousness, to use a modern term. If we can remember that spirit or soul or consciousness that pervades everything, then it's not about what you can gain for yourself. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's what you can give for everybody else. I like that. Frontal lobotomy. The hour hand on a clock rotates twice as fast as the earth. I like that. I've never thought about that. That's a good shower thought, isn't that? Hello, dear Xime. Dear Dean, you ask, do I have any transcendental meditation tips? Apparently you need to obtain a secret mantra. There are many traditions in which a disciple is initiated with a Guru Diksha mantra. Not all traditions have this, so you don't need one. But, I mean, how wonderful would it be to have one? I mean, it's kind of fun. It's very fun to just have a secret mantra to yourself. But you can give yourself one. It might not be a traditional way of having one, but absolutely you're welcome to privatize your own mantra. The only words of caution against that in tradition would be that you make sure you have the right interpretation of the mantra. Because if you are private about your mantra, then how will you know if you actually are interpreting the mantra in an unhelpful way? Having a more public mantra practice where you share what you're chanting can make it more humbling if ever there were some correction to come from the outside. Maybe that comes from another person who recognizes the mantra that you're chanting, or maybe it's just the intention of opening yourself up to the universe in your chanting practice, and indirectly the universe will send you some updates on how you should hold space for your mantra. But then again, on the other hand, there are many branches of Tantrism that says the mantra will reveal itself to you, that it doesn't matter what you chant, that if you continue to chant the same mantra, it will reveal itself to you in pronunciation, in rhythm, and in meaning. I think that's very good for self-initiation. In general, it's recommended to just do nama japa before mantra japa. Technically speaking, the word mantra is reserved for secret hymns that are passed down in disciplic succession. And then salutations like Namah Shivaya aren't actually mantras in the traditional sense, but just nama japa, just recitation of holy names. And anyone can do that. You can pick a form of the divine and just chant the name. Rama, 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 Rama. Or you can make it into a dative form and attach the salutations. Namaha. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Some say that anyone can chant the bija. Some say even that should be given by a guru. But if you want to chant that, you can add Om Namah Shivaya. Pick a sound you like. I'm not one of those people that'll warn you against chanting something incorrectly. But just to inform you of what other people say. That those threads exist out there too. And thank you, dear Viola, for the heart me that you sent. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Dear Curtis, thank you for the heart me that you sent to. Om Shri Mahalakshmiyai Namaha. You've been doing sound therapy as a way to sleep better, dear Crystal. I love that. There is something about sound and entering different states of consciousness. Speaking of mantras, namaste, dear Chloe. I love that, Mario. You're always aware that you're dreaming. You give yourself superpowers. It becomes like GTA with hacks. I love that, or the cheat codes. What a great description. In the modern age, we have such analogies like GTA with hacks. That's perfect. Dear Adonis, you're wondering if I can give some guidance on mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness is a funny word because it's almost the opposite of mindfulness. It's about mind emptiness, which doesn't mean emptying your thoughts, at least not literally. You can't actually stop your mind thinking, at least not when you're getting started. And for the bulk of us that are just getting started, it's better to think about mindfulness not as letting go of your thoughts, but letting go of your identification with them. What's the difference? Well, if you think that you have to let go of your thoughts, you'll constantly be reminded that your mind is thinking. That's its job, and you'll be frustrated because it's good at its job. No matter how hard you try to shut the mind up, it continues yapping. And you'll just get frustrated instead of relaxed. The good news is that that's not a fault of yours. You're not meditating incorrectly as long as the mind is thinking. The mind is allowed to think. What you're emptying is not the mind of thoughts, but yourself of the mind. More about creating such a space that you distance yourself from the mind. You hear the mind thinking. You know it's still thinking, but you're almost not paying attention to the mind in the same way that you would in ordinary life when we're so identified with every thought that we're in the middle of it. You pull yourself out of it. The mind still continues to be, but you're no longer spiraling, being ping-ponged around by the thoughts. So you observe the mind from a distance, and that space creates the sense of peace. How do you find that? Back to you, dear Curtis. Thank you for your patience. You feel as if you weren't making the mistakes you would be, or if you weren't making the mistakes, you would be over your trauma by now. Is that the case? You could think of it like that, but it's not exactly going to help you. Yeah, perhaps the best time to plant a tree is 40 years ago, but that information isn't the planting of the tree itself. Second best time is today. We could mull over how there are so many things that we could have done in the past. But the past is gone. We can't change that. But you absolutely can start working on yourself today. And it's not that the self even needs to be worked on. Not the higher self anyway. You and your higher self are already perfect. Because it always has been. And it always will be. But our lower selves, our minds and our bodies, they're a continual work in progress. Are we ever going to get to a point where our bodies are perfectly healthy and our minds are perfectly free from trauma? I don't know. At least I'm not planning for that time, because I try to be realistic in that this is a multi-lifetime endeavor. And in my next lifetime, I'm probably going to get traumatized by something else, and I'll have to keep working on it. And that's okay. Because the point of life is not to get all of that in the past and be done and over with it. This is the point of life. To be human. Traumatized, healing, imperfect, but continuing to believe in something higher to work on. And you are perfectly where you're meant to be now in that. Dear Numerous, you ask, tell me if I know what as above so below means. If I do, you'll donate 10,000 to a random person in chat. I like this game. This is fun. There was a mathematician named Ramanujan. Ramanujan had a very fascinating relationship with mathematics. He was completely self-taught. Living in a rural part of India, he never went to mathematics school. All he had was, I think, a single old textbook, and from that he extrapolated many patterns. He ended up becoming something of a visionary or a savant in mathematics, and he wrote letters to people in Europe, mathematicians who were at some famous university that maybe one of you know. And initially they brushed off his equations as ridiculous, coming from some random Indian boy who had no formal education. I thought, there's no way that these things are true. It's just absolutely mind-blowing equations that came with no proof, just a matter-of-fact statement. They ended up one evening just remembering these letters that Ramanujan had sent, and well, it turns out, according to their attempts at proving it, that these equations were true, and that truly there was some random boy in India that was self-taught that was revealing incomprehensible equations that turned out to be true without proof. And when he finally went to England and learned how to prove the things that just came to him, they asked him, how do you know it's true before proving it? He just said, Mother Goddess whispers it in my ear, and I know it's true, because an equation means nothing to me unless it expresses an aspect of God. That's a background on Ramanujan. What does that have to do with as above, so below? Ramanujan was also friends with every number, so it is said. And he is famous for saying that 0 and infinity are the same thing. This is a mathematician saying that 0 and infinity are not opposites. They are identical. And in fact, any relationship that includes 0 often is true if you substitute it for infinity. 0 times anything is still 0. Infinity times anything is still infinity. If you add 0 to something, it remains as it is. If you add infinity to something, it remains as infinity. There are all sorts of parallels between nothing and everything. And I think we are beginning to see, as above, so below. That when you look at two extremes with a delicate enough gaze, they might at first seem like opposites, but quickly become one. Perhaps the farthest reaches of the distant past are identical with the farthest reaches of the distant future. Perhaps you will find your greatest friend in your greatest enemy. Perhaps you will find the highest truths in the most mundane aspects of life. Perhaps the most beautiful things are hidden within the ugly. As above, so below. And I don't know if that was a suitable explanation to the concept. Even if it was a terrible explanation, perhaps in this terrible explanation, you will find a wonderful answer. As above, so below. Thank you, dear John Simon, for your heartmate, for your popular vote, and for your quartet of roses. Om Dum Durgaya Namah. Dear Jim, thank you for your heartmate. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namah. And Shelly Belly, thank you for the You're Awesome. Om Kring Kalikaya Namah. And thank you, Alfie, for your tiny. Beep. Hello, dear Jocelyn. Hello, dear Orla. Hello, dear Mascot. Hello, dear Uncouth. Dear Curtis, you share that you're frustrated by overthinking. What can we do to allow the traffic of thoughts pass? By remembering that the thoughts don't define you unless you agree to them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having terrible thoughts unless you act on those terrible thoughts. The only difference in thoughts between a saint and a sinner is that a sinner acts on those thoughts, whereas a saint is just like dialogue passing by from a movie that they didn't mean to put on. If you go into the mind of a saint versus a sinner, you won't find much difference. That's because all of our minds are pretty much the same. It's our relationship to our minds that's different. If you are very close to your mind, you will get tangled in its web of desires and fears. without realizing that they're not even your desires or fears. If you know that you are not the mind, then when the mind is afraid of something, it doesn't bother you. If you know that you're not the mind, then when the mind is desiring something, you know that you're not desiring it. The mind can say, I need ice cream. And the mind is having a bad time trying to comprehend the fact that it doesn't have ice cream right this second. Where's my ice cream? But if you know you're not the mind, and that you're not responsible for making sure that every single thought is acted on, then it's almost like the Furbermeister technique, but for your mind. Furbermeister technique, for those that don't know, is an absolutely inhumane technique for letting a baby cry itself to sleep. It actually doesn't learn how to self-soothe. It actually passes out from exhaustion of just crying. And it ends up being so traumatized that the baby creates shells of personalities to hide behind. Furbermeister technique is one of the most inhumane things you could do to a baby. But it works for the mind. When the mind wants something, you can let the mind cry itself to sleep. But not a human, not a baby. Don't do that to a baby. You can do it to a mind though, your own mind. Thank you, dear Urmani, for the shell energy that you sent. Kamalir Mahakalikaya Namah. Dear Hairspray Betty, thank you for your finger heart. Kali Mahakali Kalike Parameshwari Sarvanandakare Devi Narayani Namostute. And dear American girl, thank you for your ice cream. Pram Hanumate Namah. I'm glad you like the background music, dear Shelly Belly. I'm glad you enjoyed that little story, dear Audrey. You had never considered how 0 and infinity are one and the same. I like that, the matrix I am. All socks hold infinity when looking deep enough. Even the 0 is endless and continuous. Infinite, if you will. Hello, dear Stanzuela. Hello, dear Fairy Brat. How are you? I like that, the matrix I am. You find inner management works better than forcing the mind to quiet. No forcing required. Forcing is very aggressive. No aggressive techniques are necessary. Dear Curtis, you share you are often told to accept your inner child and forgive him, but you're not sure how to. As long as you are referring to the inner child as something separate from who you are, then your inner child remains locked away. It's kind of the irony of even referring to an inner child, because it sounds like something that's not here. Now, perhaps you can begin to forgive by becoming. If you truly forgive something, then you should have no problem becoming that thing. To forgive the inner child is to become the inner child, therefore. Make it an outer child. Don't let the child just be inner. Let it be outer. What does that mean? It means play. Literally. You could go on a playground. If it's preferable, you can go at a time where there aren't anyone else. You can just have fun in your own space. Swing on the monkey bars. Go down the slide. Let that inner child become an outer child. Or at your own home, take out the crayons. You don't have to do things in the exact same way that a child does. You can upgrade the crayons to pencil crayons or fancy markers, other adult art mediums, but come on, all art is childish in the best way possible, because nothing about art requires being old. Expression is independent from your age. Some forms of expression might require parental guidance. If you're doing art with glass, I wouldn't exactly recommend a 5-year-old be a glass blowing, but that's just because you're still learning to be dexterous and you don't want to burn yourself. But truly, the same inner child comes out in glass blowing, even though it seems that only adults do that. Fine art is still the inner child coming out. Play with toys. It can be big toys. There's a lot of grown men that have big toys. They don't have to be rubber ducks, but they could be. They don't have to be Lego, but they could be. Your adult version of Lego could be carpentry. Still, the same inner child comes out and playing with Lego versus building something with wood and screws and nails or metalwork as well. Creativity. Exploration. Let the inner child become an outer child. Thank you, dear Julianne, for your rose. Bhurmphuvasva tatsaviturvarenyam bhargo devasya dhimahi dhiyo yona prachodayat. How are you going to get your inner child to become outer? Yes. This is what I'd like to ask. Dear Numerous, you had shared the comment, and I quote, "And you people won't figure it out." Now, can I ask in return, is that a helpful statement to give to someone? Some of us may be motivated by being told what we can't do, and then we try to transcend expectations. But I think it's better to assume that if we want to motivate people to discovering something, that we should believe in them. We should affirm in their ability, because we all have the truth within us. Because we are all part of the same universe that has the truth baked into every single component. So, you all have the ability to figure it out. And what is there truly to figure out? There's nothing to gatekeep. Just as we've been talking about getting the inner child to play, that's a high truth right there. The highest truths don't have to sound complex. Here's a high truth for you. Play with Lego. You don't need to gatekeep something like that. Play with Lego. You'll tap into your creativity. The power of creation from the Creator flowing through you. It's beautiful. And thank you, dear Gulai, for your heart me. Ham Jum Sa Turyambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiya Mamritat. Hello, dear Gina. Dear Catherine, you share that your goat is doing well and love sharing my name. Her nickname is Yammy. I love that I share a name with a goat. And I'm happy that Yammy is doing well, dear Catherine. Bah! No, I have not heard about the book called Irreducible. Dear Mama JJ. By Federico F. And FYI, TikTok filters out his last name. Good to know. Thank you. Hello, dear Andy. You ask, we are still one. No? We double checking on our unification? Are we all still one? Let me check. Yep. We're all still one. Hasn't changed. And it couldn't change. Because you can never become anything other than one. Because no matter what it becomes, you can always include that as coming from the one. No matter how this world may come into many forms, no matter how many forms there are, every part of that whole is still interconnected. Nothing can exist without some connection to the rest. So you can rest assured that all is still one. Have fun reading, dear Nick. Thank you for the heart me, dear Stacy. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dear Mama JJ, you share that Federico F also says we're all one. It's nice to have multiple parts of the one saying that we're all one. Because if it was just one part of the one saying that we're all one, that'd be kind of ironic, wouldn't it? Hello, dear John Simon. Yeah, we're doing a later Sangha again. Alright, let's see where we left off in reading the Radiant Sutras. We're continuing from the 43rd Yukti, one of the 112 gateways to the Yoga of Wonder and Delight. I'll chant the Sanskrit, which is the Divine Masculine, Bhairava, serenading his beloved, Devi. This is the 66th verse overall in the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. Kuhanena prayogena sadhya eva murgekshane samudeti mahanando yena tattvang prakashate. In English, this poetically translates to... I usually don't sing the translation, but just for fun, why not? You whose existence melts me whenever you dissolve into helpless laughter, transported by a magic show, antics or jokes, having your armpits tickled, drenched by a sudden shower, or any of nature's tricks. Dive into the source of that laughter, surrender to the surge of joy, illuminating the essence of reality. Just to get you a flavor of, the rhythm of the verse and the tone and the meaning simultaneously. It's funny, it sounds more serious when you don't know what it means. The word of the verse in which the meditation practice may be seated is ku. That's K-U-H, ku. It means to surprise or astonish or cheat by trickery or jugglery. The practice? Life is full of surprises. And one of the sacred functions of meditation is preparing us to be poised and ready to laugh, especially when the joke is on us. During meditation, welcome surprise, however it shows up, in thoughts, shifts of mood, or changes in your state of consciousness. Welcome the sense that you have no idea what is going to happen next in your practice. You could be feeling bubbly and energized, and suddenly fall asleep. You might think you are sleepy and sit to meditate, and somehow you instantly feel energized. Before a meditation session, you might think you are in a dull and stupid place, and yet when you close your eyes, suddenly you are full of sunshine inside, and you feel wonderful. Except that you have no idea which item of your to-do list will demand your attention. Your brain has 80 billion neurons, and they are all talking to each other. Your body has tens of thousands of miles of nerves and blood vessels, and they want a chance to commune with each other. When you welcome surprise, you are more likely to perceive the magic show that is our every living moment. And who knows, the universe, they say, popped out of nothingness. That is what magicians are telling us as they pull rabbits out of hats. We love being astonished. Joy rises in us when we accept the surprising nature of reality. Say you are at an outdoor wedding where everyone is dressed up. The women have done their hair, and suddenly a rainstorm blows in and drenches everyone. Any of you been there? That is one of nature's tricks. There's nothing to do but laugh. Welcome the laughter as a gift of the divine. That is the word of the verse, the 43rd yukti and the 66th verse. Let's read another one, shall we? This is now the 44th yukti and the 67th verse overall. Sarvasroto nibandhena prana shaktiurdvaya shanaihi pipila sparsha velayam prathate paramam sukham. I'm not going to do the chanting of the English verse this time, but it means rivers of power flowing everywhere, fields of magnetism relating everything. This is your origin. This is your lineage. The current of creation is right here, coursing through subtle channels, animating this very form. Follow the gentle touch of life, soft as the footprint of an ant, as tiny sensations open to vastness. Power sings as it flows, electrifies the organs of sensing, becomes liquid light, nourishes your entire being. Celebrate the boundary where streams join the sea, where body meets infinity. The word of the verse is srotas. S-R-O-T-A-S. It means the current or bed of a river, a stream, torrent, water in general, a rush or violent motion or onset of the course or current of nutriment in the body, channel or course for conveying food, an aperture in the human or animal body, said to be 9 in men and 11 in women, the spout of a jar, an organ of sense, lineage or pedigree. All of this is invoked by the word srotas. The practice? Prana is breath, life, vitality. Shakti is power, energy, skill. This is a meditation on the power of life flowing everywhere in the body and through the channels of perception. When you understand that prana shakti is singing to you through all your senses, you will be filled with transcendental happiness. Srotas is currents of prana shakti or life power flowing through the body and streams of sensuous perception. The stream can be quiet or rushing and violent. The focus here is on quiet perception. Learn to be alert for these tiny sensations of the prana shakti, as subtle as an ant walking on your skin, flowing through your senses. Srotas is also the flow of sensory nutrition, the sensual data flowing into your awareness is nourishing. If you don't know how to receive nutrition from simple sensuous experiences, such as listening to music, working in a garden, watching a baby sleep, or looking at art, go find people who do and spend time with them. There are people everywhere in the world, on every block, in every occupation, who know this secret. They have nothing to do with yoga or meditation. They really don't need to, because they already know inherently how to practice this sutra. Again, a beautiful reminder, as exemplified by this ancient scripture, that nothing in spirituality is about coming to learn something that you don't already know. It's already natural to you. The only thing you don't know is that you already know. Let's read just one more verse. This is the 45th yukti and the 68th verse overall. Vahnirvishasya madhye tu chittang sukhamayang shipet kevalam vayupurnam vasmaranandena yujyate. This means, as the fires build in sexual joy, enter that blessed place between the legs. Embrace the holy energy shimmering there. Follow the rising flow, undulating throughout the spine, shivering with pleasure. As the fire intensifies and flashes upwards, suspend the breath for a moment. Throw your whole self in. Become brilliance in your bodily form, in union with primordial bliss. A reminder that this is a tantric text that saw sex, unlike many other religious traditions, as a sin, but instead as a part of spiritual communion with the divine, assuming it is, of course, consensual. The word of the verse is yuj. Yuj a very ancient verse, or any very ancient word. It's the root of the word yoga, through a lot of very complicated reasons, like ablaut and sandhi. The word yuj becomes yoga. Yuj means to yoke or join, to fasten or harness. For example, horses to a chariot. Can also simply mean to make ready, prepare, arrange, set to work, use, employ, apply, to equip an army, for example, to put arrows on a bowstring, to fix in, insert, to inject, perhaps bodily fluids, to turn or direct or fix or concentrate the mind, thoughts upon, to recollect, recall, to join oneself to be united in marriage. In astronomy, it means to come into conjunction with. I think there is currently a conjunction with the Sun and Uranus, so you'd call that a yoga in that case. To encompass, to embrace, exciting, or an exciter, being in couples or pairs. Yuj. The practice? Yuj is the root of both yoga and yukti. These are the 112 yuktis, or methods of achieving yoga or union. And it has a similar semantic range. Yuj refers to all kinds of joining, including sex. In the embrace of exciting sex, we can feel like we are made out of happiness. We are in union with a flow of brilliant inner energy, and we are sharing it. We want to cherish every moment to the last drop. In this meditation, you enter the fire of desire and prolong the experience of lust. As you join with your lover, throw your awareness, kshipet, right into the middle of sexual arousal, into the incredible joy, power, and fire of desire. This is to say, your intimacy with a partner can be a meditative experience. Some people think such an encounter might be the opposite of a spiritual practice, but you can even include that. Making love is the highest form of yoga and the most demanding. You are called to bring every molecule of awareness and skill into each moment and be ready for anything. You need to attend simultaneously to the energies of your own body and of your lovers. You have to be aware of every nerve that tingles in your body and in your lovers to sense what is needed and to embrace Sorry, I think I misread the sentence slightly. You have to be aware of every nerve that tingles in your body and in your lovers and to sense what is needed, what embrace and quality of touch to give. The very first word of the sutra, Vahni, implies that our sexuality is an elixir we are offering to the gods. The streaming ecstatic energies and sacred juices flowing in your body are here to assist in your enlightenment. All of the practices of Tantra yoga may come to you spontaneously in the fire and ecstasy of desire to help you go further into divine awareness. Your body may turn into a pure hum of vibration, the essence of mantras. You may taste the nectar of life, the electricity flowing along your spine, and skin may shoot upward into heaven and downward into the earth. You may feel as if you are dancing, immersed in music, or dissolved into space. Those are another 3 practices from the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. Very human, very holistic. I will, of course, give the necessary caution whenever, such stereotypical tantric elements get involved, that often it's also truly a metaphor. Because you can have that experience of ecstatic union in less physical ways too. You can be looking at a flower and just feel the kind of connection with a flower, or be out in nature, or just sharing a conversation can invoke the same energies. So it doesn't have to be taken so literally. And of course, if ever that aspect of yoga fascinates you, always make sure that it is truly something you want to do with someone that is not going to take advantage of you. I am not someone that is open to exploring that with any of you, just to be absolutely clear. But I invite you to explore that on your own if you want to. Just be careful of other teachers that might try to use fanciful words to, get you to be with them. It is never necessary, and I, in fact, wouldn't recommend to be involved that way with any spiritual teacher. But in your own life, with partners that you share a very trusting relationship with, or even with yourself in the privacy and comfort of your own space, feel free to explore these aspects of your body or your partners with the understanding that even that can be a spiritual practice too. So thank you very much for listening. We will pause our reading there for now, and I look forward to continuing the scripture with you. I'm always blessed to be able to read with you. This is my first time reading through it as well. I welcome everyone that joined while we were listening as well. Thank you to those who sent a gift while we were reading. Dear Carrie, thank you for your heart me. Brahm Bhairavaya Namo Namah. Dear Anna, thank you for the heart me that you sent to Om Namah Shivaya. If anyone wants to share any insights or what they got from that reading, feel free to. Enza, you had asked, did I go to Mindvalley? I don't think so. Mindvalley is a streaming platform where they have different courses on spiritual subjects, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's a little too new agey for me, but to each their own. I'm sure there's some great shows on there that I probably would like. There's a lot of courses. I think they have a very diverse range of things to offer, but I must confess to have not explored it much myself, so I wouldn't be a good representative of what's on there. You've been trying to learn more about this? Here's Annika's World. Oh, I'm happy. We've touched some subjects in our readings that are inspiring to you. What parts in particular, may I ask? I'm glad you found the reading beautiful. You wish you had been educated that way growing up, shares Orla. It's such a holistic text, and it's ancient too. I mean, it reads like it's progressive, because it absolutely is, but not progressive coming from anything. Well, it is a modern translation, to be absolutely fair, and it's a very poetic interpretation too. But even at its debut, it's very progressive. I can't remember exactly how old the record for this text goes back. It's many centuries at least, probably a few thousand in the oral tradition as well. It reads like it's now. Well said, dear Andy. It is definitely still applicable to the present moment. Spiritual scriptures do require, in my opinion, to be continuously retranslated as our colloquialisms change and our use of language shifts slowly, even from one generation to the next, especially in these times where we're differing between Gen Alpha and Gen Z and millennials in such short time frames, whereas other generations might span multiple decades. Here we're seeing a very specific shift in the culture within a few years of age. If that trend continues, then I think we'll see an entirely new era of spiritual texts where their translations are no longer locked in stone for thousands of years, but become living, changing things. They become alive in that sense, that you might see a whole new tradition emerge of revitalizing the meaning of scriptures, maybe even on a day-to-day basis, as we find more and more aphorisms and ways to comment on ancient truths that are still applicable today. That'd be very cool. Having a continuously updating text, you know? Stored on the cloud. That'd be fun. Just an idea. Zime, you loved how the reading encouraged you to speak to people that appreciate what we can't easily. I loved that part too. Yeah. The part about those that are natural yogis, they themselves not even realizing. Those that find such joy gardening, just being in the presence of a baby sleeping, or I'm forgetting what the other example was. We can utilize not just stereotypically regarded teachers and gurus, but everyday people in our lives. We can ask them, how do you find so much joy in doing your chores? I think all of us know someone that just finds joy in something that we don't. We can utilize that. Listening to music was the other one. I could probably learn from many of you that fill your days with music. I tend not to. Dear RJ, you ask, how do I feel about people smoking cigarettes? Or do you smoke cigarettes, dear RJ? Adri, you shared amazes you when people enjoy doing dishes. I am also amazed by that. I'm not going to pretend like I'm one of those people yet. But slowly, I'm learning to enjoy more everyday things. You're just wondering my opinion on it, dear RJ. I am not going to judge anyone that smokes cigarettes because I myself was addicted to vaping, which is still nicotine, just in a different way. Which is funny because a lot of people start vaping to get off cigarettes. I started vaping without any prior addiction. And I really did become addicted to nicotine for several years. I started way too early. I think I was only 15, and it was only like 2 years ago that I stopped. So that's a good portion of my life. And my experience with vaping is probably not so different from many people's experiences with smoking cigarettes. It is a release. You get that dopamine rush. Your brain is flooded with that experience of pleasure. That sense of stress dissolves. It is very relaxing. But a part of that is just breath work. a lot of the release you feel is in the conscious drag of the cigarette or breathing into your coil and your vape. If you did that exact same thing without the cigarette or the vape, you'd also feel, albeit to a lesser degree, relaxation. If you just take a nice deep breath, that also signals your body to relieve yourself from a lot of tension that you hold. Obviously, there's still the physical addiction to the nicotine. However, there are ways of retraining your brain to not be addicted to that. One of the simplest things you can do is to continuously tell yourself, my happiness is not found in this substance. My happiness does not come from smoking. My happiness does not come from vaping. And add to that where your happiness does come from. My happiness comes from improving my relationships. My happiness comes from eating good food. My happiness comes from going for a walk. My happiness comes from helping my friends and family. My happiness comes from my discipline to abstain from the things that aren't healthy. And it worked for me, but not without a lot of faith. I had to believe that transcending my addiction was not just my own doing, but a higher power working through me. And the truth of that is the fact that I get to share this story with people here that may benefit from it. Therefore, I wasn't just doing it for my own cause, but I was doing it for others to know that it's possible. And that made it easier for me. The more you can have this feeling that there's another power working through you, then you don't have to carry the weight yourself. Thank you, dear Elizabeth, for the pair of roses that you sent. Mitraya Namaha. Some shamans smoke, shares Andy. It's true. And that's because a lot of drugs that came from nature were originally ceremonial. But emphasis on the word ceremonial. They weren't doing the ceremony 24/7. Same with alcohol. A lot of various indigenous societies and ancient cultures used alcohol specifically on occasion for ceremony. Various times throughout the year that were considered significant. And the concentrations of these substances today are much higher. Thank you, dear Samra, for the hanging lights that you shared. Ravaye Namaha. Good morning, dear Rani. Dear Macy, you share feeling lost, needing some guidance today. You're not alone in that. You are not alone in that. Whenever you feel lost, think about how many others are also feeling lost. And don't be burdened by that, but feel bonded beyond time and space by everyone who's come to feel lost. And that includes everyone, at least at some point. Which tells you something very significant, in my opinion. The very fact that feeling lost is such a universal experience means that I think it's part of the universe's destiny to feel lost. There's something very meaningful about being overwhelmed by all the possibilities. There's an infinitude of things that you could be doing. And that's not a bad thing, unless you feel like you have to do everything. You don't have to do everything. Just pick one thing at a time. And it doesn't have to be anything important or seemingly important. Whatever you're doing, just give yourself to that. If you're scrolling, at least give yourself to scrolling consciously and mindfully. If you are doom scrolling, at least be highly aware of the content that you're giving your mind and hone your algorithm. You don't have to be doing anything else. Just whatever you are doing, increase your awareness of that. If you're being lazy, but be lazy consciously. Meaning, let your awareness permeate your body. If you're just flopped on the couch, well, be flopped on the couch, but let the energy in your body flow where it needs to go. You don't have to be doing anything else. But whatever you are doing, give yourself to that consciously. Dear creature of the grove, you share that you vaped as well, but weren't addicted. You are very blessed. You don't have to deal with that karma. Not your lesson. It can be very therapeutic to wash dishes or clean. Indeed, dear Arya. That is very true, dear Crystal. It is a difficult habit for anyone to quit vaping or smoking. First few days are said to be harder than even some of the most hard drugs like heroin. It's kind of like comparing apples to oranges. But many people who have had to withdraw from both said that for the first few days, the withdrawal from cigarettes was even more difficult. There is a trade-off, however. The good aspect of that is that it's only the first few days. If you can get through the first few days, you're almost assuredly golden for however long you want to abstain. And you don't even have to think about it in terms of long term. It especially helps to think about the largest amount of time that you are absolutely certain that you know you can go without it. And that depends on the moment. For some, you can be absolutely certain that you can go 24 hours. If you're in the middle of a craving, it might be only to the next breath. I'm going to get to the next breath. I'm sure I can breathe one more breath before I feel like I cave in. Whatever that is, focus on just that time frame. I can make it to my next breath. And then when your next breath comes, ask yourself, what's the longest amount of time? If it's just another breath, keep breathing. And then when the craving dissipates, maybe you can go a few minutes. You're at a point, I can wait a few minutes. Maybe after a few minutes it comes back, and you can only make it to your next breath. That's okay. You take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Other times you're pretty confident that you can go a few hours, but whatever it is, don't think in terms of forever, because you'll overwhelm yourself thinking about quitting something for the rest of your life. Oh my god. I don't just have to quit now, but the rest of my life? Oh. Just this moment. Hello, dear Rebecca. Of course, dear RJ. The stars are probably lost too. I love that angel. Stars are wandering. Thank you, dear Mads. NAC, which stands for N-acetylcysteine, is a very helpful supplement to manage withdrawals of anything. It helped you quit pouches. Thank you for that. I've never heard of that. Yeah. If anyone is interested in researching that, thank you, Matt, for adding that. You gotta stop thinking in terms of forever. When it comes to whatever you're feeling in this moment, just be with it in this moment. Anything difficult, just like remember when we were younger and we'd go for school runs around the block or wherever, and every child ran at a different pace and speed. There'd be different groups of friends that could manage at different paces. Some would be at the front, some would be at the back. But I guarantee, no matter where you were on the run, everyone in their mind was doing the same thing. Oh, if I can just run to that next telephone pole. There, yeah, I think I can run to the next telephone pole. There we go. And then you get to the telephone pole. Oh, it wasn't so bad. Okay. How about to the next car driving by? I'm going to try to get to that car driving by, and then I'll take a break. And then maybe you do take a break at that point. Or maybe then you reassess again. Okay, I made it to the car. I can make it to the fire hydrant. But if you're thinking about, can I make it around the whole block? You probably won't. Those that succeed are usually the ones that break it up into small steps and completely isolate just the step that they're working on with full awareness and complete it one by one. Just like the saying goes, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step and ends probably passed out in some desert from dehydration. I have a question of the day for you all, everyone, if you're interested in exploring it with me. Today, my question of the day is, what surprised you today, if anything? You're welcome to share. And just on cue, I was wondering if dear G2 Infinity would come into my room. She's here on a bit of a vacation. I think she's gaining the confidence to one day maybe show her face on these live streams, but she's just gonna chill out in the same room. But yes, my question of the day today is, what surprised you today? Marishka Hargate. I'll go first. Today, what surprised me today is that there was a bookstore that had a book that I really didn't think it would have. And it's the Shiva Purana, which is a very long kind of folk story, amalgamation of many stories, especially from southern India. Oh. I think G lost her confidence. She went out of the room again. She's so shy to come on here, but that's okay. She was just testing the waters. Dear Shakira, you share that your own emotions surprised you. Oh, she's back. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. Suddenly your own emotions take you by surprise. You didn't even know it was in there. Oh, thank you. Here's another book I got today. Sri Aurobindo's The Synthesis of Yoga. Many people know Many people don't know that yoga is not just a physical practice, it's also an entirely fully fledged system of spiritual realization. You often don't get taught that if you just go for, some exercises. But yeah, you can take advantage of that fact because bookstores, if they have an extensive yoga section, they just order books with the word yoga in it. The bookstore owners don't even realize they're putting wonderful philosophical texts in the yoga section. So I tried my luck at that section at a bookstore near me, and indeed I found in the yoga section, this one, The Synthesis of Yoga, has probably almost nothing about physical practice and everything about the philosophical realizations of the school of yoga. I very much look forward to reading this book. This might be the next book that we read together in the Sangha. But anyway, back to the question of the day. Phoenix, you share, a man with purple glitter toenail polish helped you with your laundry today. That is very surprising. You never expect people with purple glitter toenail polish to help you with your laundry. Typically, people with purple glitter toenail polish are pretty anti-laundry, aren't they? It's kind of what it means to wear purple toenail glitter polish. To be anti-laundry, right? That's why I paint my toenails purple glitter. I surprised you as you weren't expecting me to be on, shares Creature of the Grove. Well, I'm happy to have surprised you with that. Dear XRY, you were surprised at how invested a friend can be in taking revenge for you that you are not so interested in. That's what friends are for, right? Mm-hmm. Dearest Donsuela, you share, what surprised you today was how your crow friend came to visit after a 2-week hiatus. So glad to see him again. I love that. They say crows are one of the smartest creatures. There's a couple of species groups that are very intelligent. Corvids are definitely one of them. Crows have a very good memory, especially for faces too. Mm-hmm. Dear Fair, you ask, am I cooked? Maybe I'm high on life. I used to try certain substances, but I've discovered that they're only gateways to something that can be entered once you let go of these substances. It's kind of like a key is not the treasure of the treasure chest, but only that which opens the treasure chest. Once the treasure chest is open, you can throw away the key and enjoy the treasure. Mm-hmm. Dear Dami, if I can pronounce your name in a better way, please let me know. You share, you always get surprised when you don't sleep early, but expect to wake up early, then you oversleep. That's a funny kind of surprise, where you check your phone and you go, oh my god. It's nice when it's earlier than you expect. It's like, wow, I've been sleeping forever. And then you look and you're actually before your alarm. That's like a miracle when that happens. I wish to manifest that. It's surprised you may see that you forgot to take your meds again. Well, please take them. Mm-hmm. Reading this book tonight, shares G. You are prophesizing, are you? Mm-hmm. Dear CC Burns, you ask, why would an enlightened person poison their most important areas with polish? Sometimes you gotta live a little in today's society. There's only so much you can do to avoid fun things. Being enlightened doesn't necessarily mean that you abstain from parts of modern society. You do kind of have to adapt. I've seen many Buddhists that paint their toenails and were still very peaceful and authentic to their tradition. Yeah. What does painting toenails have to do with not being enlightened? What you do with your body is absolutely your choice, right? Some things in life might be physically demanding, but are still worth it. I think if you want to paint your toenails, go for it. Will it set you back on your spiritual journey? Of course not. How silly would it be if that were the case? You open up the Vedas, it says no toenail polish. Those that paint their toenails will never be enlightened. Ah yes. Hymn 12 of the 12th book of the Rig Veda. The anti-toenail polish verse. Dear Crossfires, you share. It surprised you that your daughter put on earrings after 8 years of not wearing them. Wow, and the holes weren't covered, didn't heal over? That's quite impressive if that's the case. But yeah, sometimes you go back to the things that you gave up to rediscover your love, or to rediscover why you stopped wearing them. Shakira, you share that G slipping in and out of my room reminds me of how Shadow and Sandy slither in and out. I should just pick up G like Sandy and Shadow and just go, look at the camera. Come on. Say hello. Oh, you want to be put down? Okay, I understand. You wish the ravens would befriend you, dear Phoenix. I think your wish may be granted. Dear Xime, you don't know why, but the sky surprised you today with its beauty. Oh, I love that. Dear Banjo, you share you took refuge, and your name is Karma Tsotrim Khandra. The name surprised you, and you love it. Really? This is your monastic name, dear Banjo. Karma Tsotrim Khandra. Is this from a Buddhist tradition? I know the word karma is Sanskrit, but Tsotrim, is that Tibetan? Dear Hairspray Betty, you share your aunt mailed you a trail-bound sketchbook. Everything is miniature. The paper, the paint set, it's for a fairy or for a fae creature. Much like yourself. Dear Sarah, you are having a philosophical dilemma. Is physical health and hygiene necessary for spiritual health? You've put the cart before the bull. Your spiritual health is necessary for physical health and hygiene. If you're spiritually unwell, i.e. depressed, then your physical health will lack. But some people spend their whole life trying to get physically healthy and never end up spiritually fulfilled. Focus on your spiritual practice. Your physical health will improve, and not magically. This is a practical point. You take care of your higher purpose. Your mind becomes healthier. And when your mental health is up there, your mind makes more appropriate decisions for your body. It's a chain of events that are very sequential. Become associated more and more with your highest truth. Your highest truth is to take care of this whole world. And how will you take care of this whole world if you don't harbor positive thoughts? And how will you take care of this body if you don't harbor positive thoughts? You need a spiritual worldview in order to have good mental health. And you need good mental health in order to take care of this body. Your mind and body are both instruments of service. Pardon me. And all there is truly to learn in the highest spiritual reaches is just that you are here to serve others. That is it. the highest spiritual truth. You are a servant to this whole that you are part of. How are you going to do that if you don't take care of your mind and body? But phrasing that the other way around, how are you going to find motivation to take care of your mind and body if you don't have a higher reason to do so? And that's where spirituality comes in. So spiritual pursuit is not at the sacrifice of your mental or physical health. You take care of your spiritual pursuits, and that includes taking care of your body and your mind. Thank you, dear Regina, for your heart me. Om Namo Bhagavate Dakshinamurtaye Mahamedham Prajnam Prayacha Swaha. Dear native girl, thank you for your heart me. Om Ham Hanumate Rudratmakaya Om Bhat Swaha. And dancing Aurora Borealis, thank you for your heart me as well. Om Sum Suryaya Namaha. Renato, you ask, have I ever experienced enlightenment? You phrase it as though it's not something that we all are experiencing in every moment. Whether we're aware of that or not is another question. And it's not a binary yes or no answer. It's a question of how present you are. If you are free to be yourself in this moment, you are experiencing enlightenment fully. If you feel trapped by the own inclinations of this mind, then you are not experiencing your enlightenment fully. But the consciousness is already enlightened. That is a quality or an aspect of consciousness, enlightenment. So therefore, it's just a matter of how conscious you are, or how much you are bringing that consciousness into everything that you see or do. Dear Samofaus, you ask, what do I think about fascist Hinduism or Buddhism? It's a contradiction, isn't it? Fascism goes against everything that Hinduism and Buddhism stands for. In fact, anyone that claims to be a Hindu or Buddhist and also has fascist ideologies is not a good role model or representative for what Hinduism or Buddhism represent. Why? Because fascism creates suffering, and Buddhists are all about alleviating suffering, and you cannot go about alleviating suffering through systems of oppression. Every Buddhist who is truly a Buddhist will know that. Someone who doesn't understand Buddhism but wants to use some ancient model to somehow empower their traumas coming through in a political ideology is not actually understanding what Buddhism truly means, or Hinduism. If there was a tenet of Hinduism, which there aren't, because these aren't classified by any specific doctrines, Hinduism is an amalgamation of many different traditions, it would be that the self and the rest of creation are interconnected, that Atman and Brahman are inseparable, but the self and everything else cannot exist without each other. And oppressive ideologies completely contradict that idea. They are individualistic in the sense of striving for power over one another, in the sense of restricting others' freedoms. This is not in the spirit of Hinduism or Buddhism. And I would say that no religion is inherently fascist. They can't be, because religion in its original purpose is only meant to bridge ourself with everything else. And anything that seeks to cause barriers and walls to be erected, to create divisions, is not truly spiritual. Thank you for allowing me to speak on that. And thank you, dear Deg, for your pair of roses. Bhanave Namaha. In fact, why don't we all take a moment of prayer for all those who are suffering under fascist regimes, or seem to be in a place where their political situation is moving towards that. May we pray that no one has to experience authority removing autonomy, cultural identity, diversity. May no one be seen as higher and lower. May we all realize that we all have an equal share in this world. We are not here to be controlled. We are not here to control. We are not here to take power or to give our power from anyone or to anyone, but simply be a part of a whole. May we all get along in one way or another, even if we disagree with everything. At least may we always find something to agree upon. May there be common ground. May there be enough space for us to hold for one another. May we not get our own emotions and traumas in the way of seeing the universal brotherhood and sisterhood of each other. We have all inherited this planet to take care of it together, not to be at each other's throats. May there be enough space for all spiritual traditions to coexist in harmony. And may spirituality and religion only be used to uplift the consciousness of all life forms, not as an excuse to seek control or power over others through some ancient or prophetic authority. May we understand that the true interpretation of Scripture is never in overruling another person's freedom or autonomy, but always to uplift, inspire, help, and resolve. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May there be peace in us. May there be peace in our environment. May there be peace in the forces that act on us. There are some other answers to our question of the day. What surprised you today? Piano, you share you haven't been surprised yet. That's surprising. But you're open to the possibility. Dear rose-colored glasses, you share you were surprised that you actually remembered to use a lot of your DBT. This is dialectic behavioral therapy skills to conquer your BPD, to rewire your brain. Isn't that a blessing when we actually that's the hard part, right? The easy part is learning these tools and skills. The hard part is remembering them when we're in the middle of an episode. Well done. Good night, dear Lee. Hello, dear Miananda. I'm glad you like the Sanskrit mantras. Dear creature of the grove. Thank you, Nyanjalo Pak, for your heart me. popular vote. Khagaya Namaha. Yes, you are wearing your Sanghi robe, dear G. G should take over the duty of clinging the little bell. That's such a great idea. Sebastian, you think you've come to the point in your spiritual journey that stealing stuff is very okay. Uh-huh. What about the very third yama of yama yoga, called Asteya, which means not taking what isn't offered? Have you got to that point yet? To be fair, it's not the first thing, nor is it the second thing, but it is the third thing, literally, in yoga. After causing least harm and truthfulness, ahimsa and satya, non-taking what isn't offered. Now, am I going to judge someone if they don't have the ability to feed themselves and they end up stealing a can of beans or whatever? Absolutely not. I'm never going to judge someone for that. Am I going to judge someone for stealing from a store that doesn't have very ethical practices anyway in how they source their supplies and how their CEO benefits ridiculously? No, I'm not going to judge them either. In fact, I'm not one to judge anyway, but I will caution that if you are going to take what isn't offered, at least do it in a way that causes the least harm. Don't steal from places that really are going to be affected by that. You know, local stores. Don't steal things that people spent so long creating. And at least find a way to give back, karmically speaking. If you take from a store, at some point in time, give back in some way to that store or to the world or to the universe in some way. Balance out your karmic bank account. Am I going to scold people who steal? No, because what is that going to do? When's the last time you scolded someone for doing something and they actually listened? We have to find alternative ways of redirecting these means. Mm-hmm. I will say as well, if you feel like you need to steal, try praying. Whenever I have felt like I need something, but I can't afford it, or I don't want to purchase something, I just send that intention out to the universe, and I've been surprised many times at how the universe just has it appear for me. I'll give you an example from just a few days ago. I'm taking care of about 60 Tulasi Devi plants, and I really needed or wanted a watering can to be able to distribute the water effectively. And I couldn't find one. And then just a few days later, lo and behold, there was a brand new watering can on the counter. I didn't tell my mom, even though she's very intuitive. She didn't intuit it, but it was for her own reasons that she bought a new watering can, and it just happened to fulfill my manifestation too. I think in little and big ways, you can do this too. Also, if you're ever in a position where you don't have any food, you can try asking first. I've definitely been places where I really wanted to eat something, but I didn't have any money. And so I just asked, this is okay if I have like fries, for example. I'll go to McDonald's and be like, hey, I'm really hungry. Is it okay? I don't have any money. Could I have like a small fries? And, you know, to be fair, a lot of the time they say no. But they have given me free fries many times in my life. So you could try that. Then you're getting something without paying for it, but at least it's offered. You can go into your karmic bank account. There's a lot of people in the community that you can try to turn to as well. Dear Calcian, you were isolated so long, and we accepted your weirdness, helped you heal and get yourself back in the world. Weirdness is definitely accepted here. Thank you for being weird, dear Calcian. Dear Marcy, you share the realizations of your own meridians. As someone who has had a diagnosis, getting to place your own power up on it has been surreal, to say the least. I like that. Thank you for sharing that, Marcy. I love the very wholesome conversations happening. Whenever G hears this in the few second delay in the Sangha, I'm going to ask her to bring the water bottle from beside my bed. This is a test to see how long the delay is. Seems to be about 5 to 10 seconds.
It's 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
No, 2.
Thank you. Dear Big D. You ask, how long do I meditate at a time? You bet I have experienced some wild shit. I actually don't usually do stereotypical meditations. Although I have. I think the wildest shit I've experienced in meditation has not been in the form of like visualizations, although many people say that they do enter all sorts of sensual experiences of sight and sound while meditating. I've never tried, to be fair. But personally, it's usually the realizations that come. And it might not take that long. I mean, just with dedicated, concentrated effort, you can have a profound meditation in only a couple of minutes. It's about the intensity rather than the duration. I've had some pretty life-changing realizations happen just within 30 seconds of taking a moment to myself and just consciously directing my thoughts. You don't need to be meditating for 8 hours. But you can. People do. You did get a voice cameo. Yeah. The very first words G has spoken. 2 seconds! Hello, Stevie G. Did I get married? No, I have not gotten married. Although it looks like I have a wedding ring on. Do you wear a wedding ring on your left or right hand? I don't actually know. This is my left hand. Yeah. This is something I made the other day. It's very tiny Rudraksha. Because I'm absolutely obsessed with this magical seed. It's very calling to me. And it was very cheap. This cost a whole $5 worth of beads. And I even got extra. Only 14 of these tiny ones. And it's just a lovely... Because I love wearing them as bracelets and necklaces. I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have a Rudraksha ring? Is it necessary? Absolutely not. Did I need to have one as soon as I had the idea? Well, no, but felt like it. There, I'm married to Shakti in spirit. No formal ceremony has taken place, however. At least not in the waking world. How is my sacred Basil going, dear Dean? Doing well. Yeah, she's growing very fast. I had 5 growth trays. and I'm at about 300, actually 600 seeds. I thought, wow, 600 seeds of a very holy plant. I gotta grow as many as I can. So I got 5 growth trays, and I put multiple seeds in every cell, and they all grew. I had a germination percentage of like 100%. We're very close to. I thought, oh my god, I had to thin it down to just 2 per cell, then 1 per cell, and I still ended up with 60 plants. And so I had to frickin' buy a greenhouse, because where are you going to put 60 maturing plants that grow into bushes? I budgeted and bought a, plastic greenhouse that's in my garage, taking up a whole spot in the garage. So yeah, she's growing very fast and doing well. The plant's name is Holy Basil. You might have heard of it. You might see it in stores where basil is sold. It's called Holy Basil because it is considered very spiritual. In fact, it's so spiritual that entire sects of Hinduism are dedicated just to the worship of the plant as a living goddess. And I love that. When they were doing a census, when the Brits came and imperialized India, unfortunately, they did a census, and the census showed something very interesting, that about 5% of people in India at the time, their identified religion was simply Tulasi. That's all they said. They didn't say Hindu, they didn't say Buddhist, they didn't say Sikh, they didn't say Shaivite. They simply wrote Tulasi, and that's the Sanskrit name of the plant. Tulasi. In Hindi, the schwa is dropped and becomes Tulsi, but in Sanskrit it's Tulasi, otherwise known as Holy Basil. You might think that it's a plant that you can eat, which is technically true. From the basil family, you can eat her. And she has very wonderful medicinal properties. But she's not meant to be cultivated to be eaten. She's meant to be cultivated for worship, actually, which I think is delightful. And that's certainly the reason that I cultivate her. And she is thriving. Oh, my phone is vibrating. It's been a while since I've streamed this late. I have an alarm at 9. Sorry, I just realized. Did I merely delay my alarm, or did I stop it? I think I stopped it. Good, because I don't want it coming back, in 10 minutes. I would like to chant. Yeah, I personally am not making anything from Tulasi, purely for worship, although her leaves do fall off, and I might as well eat them. But first offered as prasadam. She is said to be married to Krishna, so her leaves and flowers are to be offered to the divine. But after you offer them to the divine, you're welcome to make tinctures and teas and whatnot. Stevie G, you had like 2 or 3 questions to ask me, but what were they? Well, that's your first one. You were going to ask me, what were the 2 or 3 questions that you were going to ask? Mm-hmm. The second question was, really? That's what I was going to ask? To which my answer is, really? And your third question was, how did you know? To the reply of, I didn't. You answered yourself. Thank you, dear Tan Hao Yu, for your heartbeat. Pushni Namah. And dear Tattva Tattvamasi. Thank you for your quintet of roses. Hiranyagarbhaya Namaha. You know what's fascinating, dear Tattvamasi, is that for a couple live streams, as I've been going through the 12 Sun Salutations, I think I ended up doing the Hiranyagarbha mantra for you multiple times. To the golden egg. That was a really good impression of Stevie G. Oh, thanks, man. Dear BT, you ask for any advice on a body that's fighting itself. You're having a Crohn's flare and it's really bad. I'm sorry to hear that, dear BT. You know, this would be a perfect question to be explored by G, as she has some experience in that herself. Although it's a different condition. From what I've learned from her, because I don't think she wants to share, at least she's happy to text, but probably too shy to use her voice still, is that what did you say?
I'll put it in chat.
She'll put it in chat. We want an impression of G. G is a very hard person to make an impression of. He's very expressive in a variety of ways. Hard to stereotype, you know. No, what I've learned from her and what she's taught me from her own experiences dealing with a body that is often in fight with herself is to really get to know your body. What specific things do you put in your body that seems to have an effect? And the more closely you pay attention to even the most subtle reactions, if you really follow a regimen that works for you, you can minimize a lot of the effects and live a reasonably normal life. But you have to be disciplined in that you consciously bring to mind your past experiences, which is something that I really admire about her, because she's had a lot of traumas relating to her health, and in order to be aware of all of those flares and whatnot in the past, you also have to hold space for your own trauma. And there's an intimate relationship between your traumas and in the knowledge that comes from those traumas, which is very different per person. Even the littlest things that you wouldn't even think, not just diet, but the smells around you, what's in the air, what's how much light you're getting, what side of your body it hits. These are things that most of us don't pay attention to. But if you do, if you have a body that is often in conflict with itself, you can begin to discover a symbolic network of things to hold yourself back from or things to give yourself to. You discover things that really work for you, and you stick to those things. This is very general. But anyway, I'm still very much learning from G. Now onto my answer. That's what I've learned from her. My answer coming from only indirect reflection, because I'm very blessed to have a body that is, in general, not fighting itself. There is the symbolism of being safe in your own body to me. That is very striking. That I see that a lot of people who have autoimmune conditions tend also to be people who have experienced trauma, particularly from others that have suppressed aspects of yourself. That there's parts of you that you don't accept. There's parts of you psychologically that you are in fight with. There's only so much one can do physically, but there's a lot you can do mentally. And I think one may be surprised how much of a two-way relationship that can be. The more you take care of yourself mentally, the more your body may reflect that as well. In the fullness of acceptance mentally, your body too might not be at odds, because our nervous system pervades the whole body, not just our brain. Every organ. We think not just with our cerebrum, but also with every tissue. And for those times where it seems like nothing we do helps, at least create a peaceful mind. If you can't have a peaceful body, do your best to cultivate a positive mindset. That can get you through even the most horrific of physical circumstances, because a strong mind can carry a weak body, but not the other way around. Thank you, dear Jay. JVNK head, for the donut you sent. Triambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanan mrityormukshiyamamritat. Kelsey, you share your mind thinks it knows what your body needs, but your mind is just dumb and acting impulsively. It's good that you recognize that your mind is being silly. I still would choose words that aren't negative to the mind. It's very important that we don't be unkind to our minds. We can let the mind do its thing without validating some of its unhealthy expression. But that doesn't mean we should use negative vocabulary or terminology to describe our mind. Part of creating a more helpful mind is in the very act of reframing how you feel about your own mind. So let's do that. You know, you just did. Your silly mind. Dumb and acting impulsively. Instead of dumb, you could say, it's at the precipice of higher intellect. Not quite engaging in higher intelligence, but it's almost there. Instead of acting impulsively, so your mind is just very spontaneous. Your mind is at the precipice of higher intellect and spontaneous. Thank you everyone for exploring my question of the day. I think we've transitioned away from that. I always appreciate exploring it together. Thank you, Anna, for the heart me you sent too. Amarichaye Namaha. Why is 108 sacred in Hinduism? Asks Holly. It is sacred not just in Hinduism, but in all of the dharmic religions, because they share common ancestral tradition. That includes not just the Hindu dharma, but the Buddhist dharma, the Sikh dharma, and the Jain dharma. 108 is sacred in all of these. It is sacred because it appears in many astrological numerations. If you calculate how many moons can fit between the Earth and our moon, it's 108. If you calculate how many suns can fit between the Earth and the Sun, it's 108. If you calculate how many Earths can fit across the diameter of the Sun, it's 108. And that's nice because it's objective. You can calculate this yourself. If you Google the diameter of the Sun, and the Moon, and the Earth, and the distances between them, you can verify for yourself. Now, many of these numbers vary, like the orbit of the Moon, diameter of the Sun, the orbit of the Earth. But in general, it's 108. And there's one more as well. This one's a little more subjective because it has to do with what we consider astrologically significant. But for thousands of years, we've considered 9 celestial bodies to have astrological significance. That's the Sun and the Moon, and then Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. 9. And you compare that to the background of 12 constellations around the band of the ecliptic. And that means combinatorically that any of the 9 planets can be in any of the 12 constellations, which makes for 9 times 12 combinations, which is 108. So there's 108 possible astrological conjunctions when it comes to celestial body and constellation. Yeah, rest in peace, Pluto. Sorry, what did you say? Oh, we'll have to wait a couple seconds till she... Okay. Mathematically speaking as well, 108 is a highly divisible number, meaning that you can divide it into halves, into quarters, into thirds, into sixths, into ninths, into 12ths, into 27ths, into 54ths, and of course into ones and 108s. Which means for the case of creating sets of things, it can be very useful. Like if you want to make a mala, because then if you want to chant half the number of repetitions on a mala, you can do that. Or a third, or a sixth. If you want to categorize the 108 Upanishads, a set of scriptures, the major or the minor, then you can break them up into, you know, the first 12 and then the next 12 and whatnot, which are very nice numbers in general. 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 3 only has 2 prime factors, 2 and 3. Very balanced. 2s and 3s show up everywhere. So it's a nice composite number. You never knew it was that significant, and there's so much more than that. That's just the beginning of what I know. Was that Mama Yam? Asked Marlon. No, it's G. It's G to infinity. Not the in real life lag, right? G is slowly inching closer. Just gaining the confidence. It's a big thing to show your face. Thank you, dear Shakira, for your tiny yippee. I agree with what Stevie G said. Don't let me go into mathematics. We'll be here all night. Thank you for another tiny, dear Shakira. Yahoo! I think it's about time to come to the end of today's live stream anyway. We will be doing a mantra chanting session. Thank you, dear Hairspray Betty, for the rose that you sent as well. Adityaya Namaha. I love all the love and support for G. Thank you, everyone. And for each other. It's always wonderful. Anyway, you've missed your mark. I'm going to set up the recording for the mantra chanting session tonight.
Can I join the meditation?
Yeah, you can. I record all of the little snippets from these live streams, like the reading. Oh, there she is. If you ever like the readings, but you can't attend every time, which is completely fair because I don't go live at the same time every day, usually. I record them, I put them in dedicated playlists. Same with the meditations as well. Checking to see her pulse. Oh, you're surprisingly not going into hyperventilation. That's good. Thank you, dear Marcy, for the heart me as well. Savitri Namaha. All right. For tonight's meditation, we're going to be doing a mantra. Today's mantra is a relatively famous mantra. You might know it, you might have already chanted it. This is a mantra said to be done every morning. It goes by the name of the first two words, the Samudra Vasane Mantra. It is absolutely beautiful. That was our question of the day. This is our meditation. It's a longer one with an absolutely stunningly succinct meaning. I call it the Mother Earth Morning Mantra. It goes like this. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Chamasvame. I'll talk about the pronunciation in just a moment, but let me tell you what it means. I don't have enough space to include the translation in the text box, so this will be the only time and I'll tell you the meaning. It means something like this. O Devi, Mother Earth in this case, who wears the ocean as your garment and has mountains as your bosom. O consort of Lord Vishnu, the all-pervading one, I bow to you. Please forgive me for touching your feet, that is the earth. In India, many parts of this universe correspond to different parts of our bodies, and the earth corresponds to our feet for obvious reasons. So this is a mantra, kind of like an apology to Mother Earth that we're touching her feet because that's such a sacred part of our bodies. And so it's typically done in the morning to recognize that we are touching Mother Earth, a goddess, everywhere we step. So before our feet touch the ground, this mantra is generally done as a prayer as well. Other versions of this mantra frame it, instead of apologizing for touching her feet, apologizing for our feet for touching her. Because in another sense, feet is considered impure, and our feet are touching her wherever we step. Or you could say that our feet conceals her beauty, because every square inch of Mother Earth is beautiful, and we are inherently covering something beautiful everywhere we step. So it's a very humble mantra, which is lovely. Don't take it too self-depreciatively. It's not about thinking that you're doing something wrong for walking on her. Don't worry. Mother Earth is so happy that you get to walk on her. This mantra comes from us, not from her imposing it on us. We are part of her, after all. We are as beautiful as she is. We get it from her. So, with that out of the way, here's some pronunciation pointers. I wasn't able to include all for the same reason of running out of characters. But whenever you see a dot under a character that's typically pronounced at the teeth, what's called a dental sound, when there's a dot under it in the International Alphabet of Sanskrit Transliteration, it means that it's done curling your tongue back. Instead of at the teeth, it's done at the hard palate. And instead of the top or tip of your tongue, it's actually the bottom of your tongue. So you curl your tongue back for Mandale or Vishnu, for example. It creates a kind of darker tone, and precise Sanskrit pronunciation doesn't make the mantra more or less real. Just gives you something to meditate on. The dot under the M, on the other hand, is the Anuswara, the sacred nasalization. You'll find it at the end of Namastubhyam and Padasparsham. You raise the point of resonance into your nasal cavity. You'll also see an H after the B in Namastubhyam. It's no silent H. This is truly voiced with extra breath. Bhya, bhya. This is not a sound that typically exists in English. And then finally, there's another S. Not one with a dot under it, but the one with the accent over it. Since Sanskrit has multiple sibilants, this is the regular SH sound by the diagram in English. Sha, it's palatal, whereas the one with a dot under it is retroflex. You curl your tongue back. Sha versus Sha. This is a little lighter. That's everything I have to say about this mantra. Thank you for listening. Now it's time to chant it. We'll be chanting it 108 times together. And we'll be doing the counting on a mala, so we don't have to number note the repetitions while we do it. You are welcome to chant along, try out your Sanskrit, or you can simply listen. This will be my first time chanting it 108 times. See if I remember it. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparsham Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparsham Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparsham Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparsham Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparsham Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparsham Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparsham Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyang Padasparsham Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Purvatastana Mandale Vishnu Padni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Padni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Aum Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamasvame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Padni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamaswame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Shamaswame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamaswame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamaswame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamaswame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamaswame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamaswame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamaswame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamaswame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamaswame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamaswame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamaswame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamaswame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamaswame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamaswame. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamaswame. Last one. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Vishnu Padni Namastubhyam Padasparshang Shamaswame. salutations to Mother Earth. May we spend a few moments in silence, recognizing how we are from you in our bodies. This is a gift that you have given us. May we always recognize Mother Earth as a goddess around us and in her own form. Thank you for meditating or chanting with us. And thank you for meditating with me. You know, for Shakti being the expressive one and Shiva being the inner silent one, we sure have it backwards.
Just balance it. How do I move in?
Let me zoom out.
Oh, it's the wrong color. That was an awesome meditation.
I'm glad you liked it.
It sounds pretty cool this way.
Sounds pretty cool in person?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Hi, everybody.
Do you want to hear what it sounds like?
No, it's okay.
No?
Yeah, I could put my own headphones on.
That's true. It'd be very delayed, though.
Yeah, that's alright. Yeah, I got used to it. That's why I was taking my time.
Mm-hmm.
So I can hear you now. This is what I actually look like when I'm listening to this guy.
Many wonderful words sent your way. It's beautiful, Gigi. Cheers,
Hi,
Donsuela.
everybody. This is awkward.
Macy says hello, Audrey.
Okay, hello.
Dear Stevie G. Creature from the Grove.
Okay, wait, I'll look at my phone.
Okay.
Okay, Stevie.
Thank you to those who sent a gift
This
while
is the
we were
real
meditating.
Infinity, yes. I even wear an infinity.
She's got the infinity necklace on, you can't see, but... Yeah. Are you ready? As G2 Infinity in chat, type open sesame.
Hold on. This is such a weird delay, guys.
Oh wait, but never mind.
What? It's
That wouldn't be a cryptographically secure way of proving that you're the real G2 Infinity, because the real G2 Infinity could be watching as well and heard me say that and then just type it. So, type whatever you want. We needed more.
Is this
we need a
all
better
very
proof.
surreal for everybody?
Thank you,
They're all
dear.
very beautiful.
Is that Gina, who's guarded by God for the heart me
guess it's
and the pair of
Tantra.
roses. Savitri Namaha. And dear Anna, thank you for the 31 roses. Arkaya Namaha.
Very warm. Odd. Okay, so this is a very beautiful mantra. Okay, everybody's saying hello. This is awesome. Hi, everybody.
You are loved.
You are loved. I love you all, actually.
You know you can come in closer. Only half of you is showing.
I know, it's just awkward. No, going this way. Okay. I have shorts on because it's warm here in BC. Okay. Hello.
Is she my mom? No, she's not my mom.
Definitely not his mom.
Thank you for participating
Thank you for letting me be.
in such a wonderful live stream. Thank you, everyone. We've come to the end of it now. Thank you to my lovely moderators, including you.
Thank you.
If there's anything I can do to make this space more inclusive to you, to anyone, please let me know. Hold me accountable. May I be a better host for next time. May this live stream be an offering to the divinity within you. Within you.
Within you.
Amasato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor mamritangamaya. Shanti shanti shanti. Lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to the light, from death to deathlessness. May there be peace in us, may there be peace in our environment, and may there be peace in the forces that act on us. Will I be on tomorrow? I hope so.
I think you should be on tomorrow.
I should be. Yeah. Of course, with G2 Infinity as my guest, I'm trying to make sure that she gets to experience as much of Vancouver Island as I can. So, please forgive me if I'm in a forest or somewhere. But happy to keep you updated in the Telegram group chat, which is linked in the link tree in the bio. And when dear G departs, I will certainly have more time to be live.
You were able to do a live. It's your choice.
It's true. I should specify. She is very clear that I have the freedom to just leave her be and do her own thing, and she is not the one responsible for taking time away from these live streams. That's definitely my choice. You can hold me accountable to that.
Staying another week, Stevie.
Another week indeed. Where's the Telegram chat? It's linked in the link tree on my bio. I believe the logo of Telegram is the paper airplane, so you'll find that logo at the top. Oh. Dear Kila, you share, I must have worked really hard to learn that language. You know, it's a very natural and intuitive language. In fact, I think it's one of the easiest languages to learn. And I'm still learning it. The hard part is just staying disciplined to keep practicing and learning something new every day. But if you fall in love with it, even that becomes easy as well. Is she my mom for real? No, for real, she is not my mother. You have seen my mother.
Clear difference.
My mother has been on here. Now this is my partner in crime. My Shakti. All right. Thank you everyone for being here. I will end today's live stream. This whole live stream will be uploaded to my Yamsox Live's YouTube channel in case you wanted to get the most out of it. May you all have a wonderful rest of your present moment. Did you want to say any closing remarks?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
As always. Love you all.
I look more nervous around you, shares Dadman. I have to be. You are an incredible woman. You are such a gift to this universe, and you are so humble that you would never own up to such a thing. In your own words. I have to be nervous around you, because truly, I bow down to you. You are an embodiment of the divine feminine here before me. I'm absolutely inspired by the being that you have become, the being that you are becoming, and the being that you always have been.
Hey guys, have fun tonight.
Namaste. Namo Vaha.